Hello, this is Melissa Cole, Curator of the Oshawa Museum. Today's podcast features a unique item from the Oshawa Museum's collection that I'm sure many culinary historians would like to try out if they haven't already. It is a meat juice press. Back in the late 1800s, this item was considered a must-have for many affluent households. The reason being that meat juice was used as a concentrated form of nourishment for the ill. This particular style of meat press would have been used to extract juice from the beef, from boiled mutton, from tongue, or boned turkey. This one is heavily embossed, and on one side it reads, Landers, Frary & Clark, New Britain, Connecticut, USA. And the other side it is embossed, Columbia Meat Juice Press, made in USA 1. Columbia was an early brand name used by Landers, Frary & Clark. The company was founded in 1882, when Landers & Smith acquired Frary & Clark, a well-known manufacturer of housewares and hardware. This particular press measures 7.5 inches tall and 4.5 inches wide. That's not including the handle of the masher. It is comprised of 4 cast iron pieces that can be separated. The press, pressing handle, and a frame that has embossed lettering on both sides, and the fluted cup which contains a spout for pouring the extracted juices. This household item would most likely have been used to make beef tea. If you open a book about 19th century dietary remedies, it would be hard to find one that does not mention beef tea. It was a type of broth made from beef and water and given to patients to drink if they were suffering from digestive problems, fever, or weakness. People believed that the tea was nutritious and easy on the stomach, which would help patients to return to their former fortitude. The benefits of making and drinking tea were featured in numerous cookbooks. In the 1800s, the following information was taken from an 1887 cookbook. Quote, the liquid obtained contains all the nourishing qualities of the flesh and none of the indigestible structure, and it is much more palatable than ordinary soup or beef tea, and is decidedly more nutritious. Unquote. Don't confuse beef tea with today's beef broth. Beef tea and beef broth are very different. Beef tea is almost like a distilled essence of beef, similar to the French l'essence de bœuf. Very intense and powerful nutrition when someone is sick and ailing. It would be particularly useful after surgery, especially with blood loss, because of the iron in it. 2 recipes were found on the Royal College of Physicians of London, England's website, and explains how to make beef tea. Start by browning 1/2 pound of super lean, flavorful beef, something like an eye of round or a blade steak, and trim it of any excess fat and connective tissue. Cut it into small cubes and place them into a clean mason jar with a lid. This jar would then be placed into another pot of water. Loosely cover the large pot containing the jar and allow it to simmer for 2 to 4 hours. It will concentrate into a distilled form of liquid beef. After 2.5 hours to 4 hours, place the beef cubes into the meat press. The screw on the meat press can be raised and the pressing handle removed from the cup, and the meat will be placed in the cup and the press handle placed back on top. The screw of the press would be lowered and would press the meat. Keep the liquid that is pressed from the beef along with the liquid that remained in the jar after simmering and mix them together to create beef tea. When it cools, the liquid solidifies into a thick gelatin, which can also be eaten in this form. Here's another image taken from the Pharmacopoeia of the London Hospital. This was in a guide created to aid staff and students of the hospital in the art of prescribing. It covered how to take notes on patients, prescribing for children, and diets for patients. Beef tea was featured heavily in the meal plans. Beef tea would also have been given to soldiers serving overseas. Florence Nightingale detailed the average daily issue of special dietary items for the War Office. On the top of the list was 25 gallons of beef tea. 80 pounds of meat would have been used to make this tea. Beef tea can be served either in its raw state or gently cooked. And don't confuse today's beef broth with beef tea. Beef tea was much richer and thicker than our traditional beef broth today, and contained much more nourishment in comparison to the watered-down broth purchased in stores. Today's ball roll, which is a trademarked name of that thick, salty meat extract that was developed in the 1870s in Canada by a Scotsman named John Lawson Johnson. The product was originally called Johnson's Fluid Beef. In its creation stemmed from beef tea, but in a much simpler and easier to use form, which is still used today to make our stews and our soups, and is even used on roast, etc. Thank you.